Hey there folks, welcome to Spectrum Pulse. It's about music, movies, art, and culture. And today we're going to be talking about the debut album from DJ Snake called Encore. You know, I don't think I've ever been completely on board with DJ Snake, and if you've been following his seemingly meteoric rise to fame over the past couple of years, you would understand why. As a producer, his synth tones and beats have the sort of aggression that can match the firepower of someone like Lil Jon, but also have enough restraint to intensify the tension for more low-key singers. And while it can definitely take a while to get on board with some of his more off-kilter melodic progressions, he does have a mostly distinctive sound. Probably one of the big reasons why Lady Gaga tapped him around the turn of the decade to produce for Born This Way and Art Pop. And considering how many bona fide hits he's had recently, I'm surprised it's taken him this long to make a full-length debut, even as an electronic producer. But on the other hand, there's a part of me that's not that surprised. DJ Snake is probably making enough bank off of his singles alone to not need to worry about albums. And when you combine that with the fact that his unique selection of tones can seem a tad limited when you explore his material at length, maybe he was concerned about wearing out his welcome. Hell, he's even calling his debut album Encore. Maybe he's aware of his possible longevity. But that doesn't mean I wasn't curious, so I checked out Encore. How'd it go? Well, it's a weird case, that's for damn sure, and one for which I swear DJ Snake's approach feels almost bipolar. This is an album of two distinct styles, each having their own distinct strengths and weaknesses, and the way that they're sequenced on this album doesn't so much show variety as a complete lack of cohesion. Now, none of this means that Encore is precisely bad. There are some screamingly bad moments, but none that quite derail the project from having real quality or from the high points. But there was a part of me that was expecting DJ Snake to push harder or get weirder, and that doesn't really happen or elevate this to being all that good. But before I get to those moments, we need to start with those two distinct styles, which break down pretty easily. The songs where DJ Snake exhibits entirely too much personality, and those where he shows off no personality whatsoever. And I know what you're thinking. I opened up this review describing how DJ Snake had a distinctive production style, and yet there's almost half of this album where the beats and synth choices feel incredibly by the numbers. Take Sober, with the blurry piano tones and horn touches around the guitar groove. The track might have some atmosphere with JRY's vocals, but nowhere does it sound like something that any other trap producer couldn't make. Talk, it's a little better, mostly thanks to George Maple's breathy delivery and the balance between the warping vocal fragments and the pan flute, but the track honestly doesn't sound that far removed from your average Kygo production, and at least he will flip up his melody just beyond the cadence. And then we get the trap productions on Oh Me Oh My with Travis Scott and Quavo of Migos with the newcomer Gashi on the hook, or the ghostly symphonic vocals that open up with the other Gashi feature For Life. These songs barely even feel like DJ Snake productions. You could have told me that Metro Boomin made these and I might not have even known the difference. And then we have the half with Jeremih and Young Thug, and yeah, with the vocal sampling around the hook, it's got a little bit more of a DJ Snake feel, but that doesn't compensate for how terrible Jeremih's verse is, how he thinks people will call him Tupac, or how he treats his girls the same way he treats his car, which feels like the opening of a bad Whose Line Is It Anyway sketch. It's a bad sign when Young Thug is probably the sole redeeming factor, but I'm also left wondering that if you paired him with some more exotic production the way that Jamie XX did with Good Times, you probably get something a lot better. Young Thug could have been better utilized on this DJ Snake album. And the funny thing is that when DJ Snake, he does have his moments where the production does get a little bit more wild and kooky. And while I don't often mind his choice of cadence or melodies, his synth tones can leave a lot to be desired. I mentioned how on Billboard Breakdown how shrill middle can feel, especially leading into the breakdown, and how it doesn't really balance with Bipolar Sunshine, but that's nothing compared to Sahara, co-produced with Skrillex, a song that actually starts off with some pretty great stormy atmospheres before the drop into this squonking synth that rapidly approaches ear-bleeding territory that sounds like an elephant getting disemboweled. Pigala is something similar, as it drop breaks into these huge blocks of chiptune that reminds me when my computer has a blue screen of death that the beat contorts beneath it. And again, I don't mind glitchy, abrasive beats or melodies, but if your tone just blares across the mix without any sort of blending or adequate progression, it actively alienates you as the listener. For comparison, when Erin Meredith made The Vapors earlier this year on her last album, she also had very similar blaring tones, but the entire song was a growth and a build-up to that triumphant chord, which made the harsher textures a lot easier to take. Whereas DJ Snake, he builds right to the drop for 8 bars or so, right after that drop goes right back to the atmospherics. Again, these atmospherics save these songs, but they also highlight how rigid and borderline formulaic so many of these compositions are. And again, that can work with the right tones. Ocho Cinco pairs him up with Yellow Claw, and even despite the well-blended chipmunk vocals, the song goes absolutely nuts with a great drop and real galloping momentum with a sandy beat and shifting synth tones. I wanted to like Propaganda for similar reasons, but you're going for this dystopian, hellish bombast, and then the drop with the fast-paced rattle and squonk that even with the thicker bass reminded me way too much of early Skrillex for me to really click with it. But going back to Picale, the bizarre thing is that the instrumental around that drop with the male vocal sample and the synth tone sounds like it was almost imported out of mid-90s techno. And then we get another retro production on Future Part 2 that might not have many of DJ Snake's usual flourishes outside the sample vocal breakdown, but easily has the most groove in the bass line and glossier lower keys. It sounds like it was out of the mid-90s. And we're all considering DJ Snake some revolutionary here, but as a whole, look, I'm conflicted with this album, and I still don't know what to think about this guy. There's a part of me that wishes he got more aggressive, but he's got no problems with loudness or abrasion. If anything, I wish he got more flexible in his melodic progressions, take a few more experiments, not just taking a few notes and contorting them in various ways. And the moments where DJ Snake shows off his sound are good here. When he's playing second fiddle to his guest stars, his production has a lot less personality. Say what you will about how airy and borderline insubstantial Kygo can be, at least he doesn't compromise his unique sound or a sense of fun. With Encore, look, I found this album really hard to enjoy outside of isolated moments, which means it's getting a very strong 5 out of 10 for me. Again, take this with a grain of salt. I'm not a hardcore DJ Snake fan, and you'll probably like this a lot more if you are, but I'm not sure this album captures him at his best. And without Turn Down for What, this album leaves a fair bit to be desired. Just saying. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching. If you'd like to like and subscribe, I'd be more than grateful. I can imagine this review is gonna be kind of contentious, so I got the poll up here so you guys can all tell me how wrong I am. Beyond that, anything else I might be able to do to improve my presentation, or any other albums coming out that you want me to take a look at, I will try to give them a listen. Till then, I'm Mark, you're watching Spectrum Pulse, and I'll see you next time.